What's good, everybody? I hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully, I had a great training week on my part. It was going really great. So, I know y'all might ask, like, why I'm wearing this instead of a shirt because it's hot. I was cooking the market, you know what I mean? So, let's go to the trades, and I'm gonna explain every trade. I took one loss, a small loss, and two wins, and I'm still in one trade. So, yeah, hopefully, we keep on cooking. So, first trade that I took was Euro USD. Basically, I did not take the trade this week. I took it the past week. Okay, I held it so long. I felt like I was applying for a visa. Okay, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna hold the trade because I believe it has potential. At some point right here, it almost hit my take profit, but it went lower. I was like, okay, should I close? Should I do something? So what I did right at that moment is I moved my stop loss toward this level, above these highs. At least have secured some profit. And guess what? On Wednesday, price showed up, and I tried to hit my take profit. I could have held more because I've left a lot on the market, maybe twice. I could have had a 125.7 something, but you know what? I kept it slow. 1 to 3.62. That's really good risk to reward. We don't always have these opportunities, and guess what? The most important thing is consistency. It's a long term, right? You can't like catch all these big moves. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it does not. So just stick to your strategy. Even if you hit a 1 to 1 or 1 to 2, that's great because guess what? You have followed your strategy and you are profitable for the week. That's the most important thing. Okay. So the next trade that I took was the NZD USD. This trade had a lot of potential because I was expecting dollar bearishness, what did happen this week because past past US data from last week was like really bad. Not really bad, but it actually really decreased the chances of the rate hikes from the Fed. So I was expecting the dollar to drop this week. So I was like, okay, if dollar drops, what pair actually capitalize on it? It's either AUD Australian dollar or New Zealand dollar. And I was actually expecting bad data for the Australian dollar, which did actually happen concerning employment, right? So I was like, okay, if less people are expected to fight for employment, that means that less people are employed in the Australian economy. That means that's really bad for Australian dollars. So I was like, okay, by the way, RBNZ, which is the Bank of New Zealand, is way more hawkish than the RBA. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take NZUSD along. And as you guys can see, if you look at a daily time frame, we had major moves. Right, this was a support level that has been rejected multiple times. Practice managed to actually break above, come back with this bearish candle. Okay, I was a little bit suspicious. I did not know if I should have entered or not. But when I saw this support level being rejected multiple times in the past, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take the trade and let it ride. And guess what? We did hit our take profit on 3.4, 3 to 2.4 risk reward. The next trade that I took was EuroCAD. This one I really took it on my personal account. I did not take it on my funded account because in my funded account I was in drawdown. Now I'm not in drawdown no more because of the NZDUS, the Euro SD trade and the NZDUSD trade. Because that says a lot. I was down like what, for 4% with two good trades. I'm up like one no 2%. That's really good, and I'm aiming for what? I'm aiming for a probably let me say I'm aiming for a 10% because that's a one step challenge. The next trade I took was EuroCAD. Why did I take this trade and why did I downsize my risk? So basically, I saw this level which was being rejected multiple times. So the downside, which was a resistance level, price managed to break above, came back under above the area, and now was using it as support. I saw these 4 hour candle rejecting the downside. I was like, okay, there might be some bullish momentum. But the only down thing that made me downsize was Canadian dollar. Okay, because if you look at the calendar on Monday, we had really great Canadian dollar news concerning inflation, which means inflation was shooting up in Canada. That does not mean that the Bank of Canada is probably going to hike rates, but that's pretty bullish for the Canadian dollar. And more than that, if you look at oil prices, at that period, okay, the Strait of Hormuz is still closed, so oil prices were shooting up. I was like, okay, this is interesting, but at the same time, okay, the Euro Central Bank, by the way, is expecting rate hikes for September. We are pricing probably 89% chances of a rate hike. For the Bank of Canada, we are expecting the, the rates to stay still, not to change. So I was like, okay, EuroCAD, that's really bullish. Okay. But oil prices are still high, and Canadian dollar depends on oil prices. Also, Trump did actually give them a little more time for the deal between the US and the Canada. So that's really good for Canadian dollar. So I did actually downsize my risk. I did enter at this point, not going to lie, but price did almost hit my take profit. But you know what? I exited too early. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna exit the trade because it might be invalidated. And the last trade that I'm still in is Euro GBP. Okay, why Euro GBP? This week we had really great data concerning the euro and the pound. But the problem is, I saw it on some little report from Think.ing Bank that we might see some hawkishness from the Euro Central Bank, and the hawkishness that the Bank of England is pricing is a little bit too priced up. It's like they are probably too hawkish. Okay, the data doesn't reflect what they are saying. That means that we are probably going to see bad data concerning the pound. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to take Euro GBP longs. And okay, we are in drawdown, like 50% our drawdown. And guess what? We might see what happens next week. Probably is going to shoot up. I really believe in my setup still because it did not go lower. And this is support level. So maybe this level holds. If it does not hold, I'm just gonna hit my stop loss and we move on for the next week. We have a lot of setups coming up next week. Euro CHF. If we go with risk off environment. Euro CAD. That would be really interesting if we have a breaks retest above. AUD NZD. This one is really interesting because we had bad data concerning the Australian dollar, which could affect the Australian dollar the upcoming week. The New Zealand dollar, the RBNZ is more hawkish than the RBA, so we are probably gonna have some dovishness by it. Okay. GBP CAD. Okay, we are rejecting this level. If oil prices are still high and we have bad related data to the United Kingdom, that would be interesting to take shorts. Okay, NZD CAD. There's a lot. Oh, this one I should have entered the trade. I'm not gonna lie, but the reason I did not take the trade because the oil prices are still high. If we have a pullback next week, that would be really interesting to take this long. But let's see what happens. Hopefully, the Strait of Hormuz opens. If we have some little release on the Strait of Hormuz, more boats go in, inflow and outflow, that'd be interesting because oil prices will drop. Canadian dollar will probably drop, and we might have some really interesting rally towards the upside for the pairs that are negatively correlated to the Canadian dollar. Hopefully, I have a great trading week. Peace out.